Early in the 20th century on Wearside, it was decided that the people of the burgeoning industrial town of Sunderland could do with more recreational open space. The result was the purchase of land and the construction of a public park on the former Barnes estate in the southwest of the town. It was a huge undertaking to landscape and plant the testing, undulating terrain, but a huge workforce of 2,798 men completed the job in a couple of years. The new Barnes Park was opened in 1909 amid much ceremony and excitement. The steep natural contours of the land had been skillfully exploited to reveal open aspects and striking features like the lake, amphitheatre bandstand and the much-loved Civil War cannon. The colourful flower beds and borders lent beauty, while the bowling greens and tennis courts provided cheap sports facilities. The park quickly established itself as the new jewel among Sunderland's parks. Wearsiders flocked to see its many attractions, particularly the lake with its ducks and swans, not to mention the lure of sticklebacks and minnows for small boys, and the bandstand with its succession of rousing colliery brass bands offered free entertainment. Chief attraction, of course, was the park itself, with its well-manicured lawns and flower displays providing peace and tranquility for the hard-working townsfolk. With a visual surprise around every corner, it was not surprising that the park became a much-appreciated oasis amid the urban sprawl of industrial Wearside. A visit to the park does not arouse much excitement today, but for generations past, who lived much simpler and more frugal lives than we do today, it was an escape from the grind of daily life in the early part of the century, and a most enjoyable experience. Perhaps even more importantly, it was free. For the next half-century or so, under its dedicated band of keepers, the park flourished and more than lived up to its reputation for outstanding beauty and a place to enjoy simple pleasures. Even during World War II, it played its part in keeping the morale of the public uplifted by staging musicals on the bandstand and even dancing on its tennis courts. But then, little by little, as cash-strapped Britain slowly recovered from the war and local authorities had to prioritise housing and industry, a decline began. Over decades, maintenance was cut back and the undergrowth ran wild. During summer days, it came alive for a few hours when the thriving bowling clubs were active, and fine days drew parents and children in to feed the ducks. But only a handful of hardy dog walkers used the park all the year round. Unfortunately, at night the park did not slumber. Intruders in the form of feral youths often stalked its paths and made drinking dens in the overgrown bushes. It is a sad truth that this valuable recreation area suffered mightily from decades of neglect and poor maintenance. It had become shabby, overgrown, and vandalism was rife. A huge depot in the middle of the park brought in lorries and other vehicles to create noise and constitute a conflict with the walking public, young and old alike. There is no doubt that although the park's natural beauty was still apparent, it had taken on an air of faded grandeur and acquired ugly, slightly menacing areas. It had become a Cinderella park. Such a valuable public facility could not be left to wither away. Something had to be done. So it was that in 2008, Sunderland City Council undertook the huge task of preparing and presenting a bid to the Heritage Lottery Fund for money to refurbish the park. It sought and readily obtained the support of the Friends of Barnes Park in its bid, but months of hard work, planning and consultation lay ahead. Eventually, in 2009, success was greeted with delight and relief by the Council and those many generations of Wearsiders who have fond memories of the park. The Heritage Lottery Fund and Sunderland City Council together provided the necessary £3.5 million finance. So, exactly 100 years after its opening, the park was ceremoniously closed using the very same golden key which had been used to open it in 1909, and work began to give the park a bright new face to present to Wearside. So it was that instead of a magical visitation by a fairy godmother, this modern-day Cinderella Park won the lottery instead, and the effect was just as magical, as the park was transformed from the mundane into the magnificent. As the gates clanged shut for the very last time, so the bulldozer engines roared into action, but their work was quickly cut short by the worst winter in 30 years. Nevertheless, the contractors Brambledown pressed on doggedly to meet the spring completion of the project's first phase. Earth was shifted, trees felled, new railings installed, and new contours created. The old red gravel tennis courts were quickly laid out as a sensory garden, with flower beds, novel sculptures, serpentine paths, and a wonderful water fountain feature, which meanders down to a circular pond. The playing field was recontoured and regrassed, and an adventure playground for older children constructed next to the car park. A highly talented tree sculptor has created amazing features, including a dragonfly totem pole, a magnificent seat richly carved with weird and wonderful fictional creatures, and some scary tree faces in hidden corners of an extensive stumpery. A children's adventure play area quickly took shape near the Coach House Cafe, and a new toilet block was constructed. The area is now filled with adventure equipment that is bound to soak up the energy of the city's children. The park's main entrance on Durham Road had its ornamental gates and pillars removed for replacements to be made off-site at a wrought iron foundry in North Yorkshire. The old flower beds were replaced by attractive flagging, creating an even grander entrance than its predecessor. Up at the park's northwest corner, a new car park and entrance has been created to serve the bowling fraternity, and a small depot built to service the park. The car park eases difficult roadside parking on Ettrick Grove, which had long been a considerable traffic hazard. As the public began to use and enjoy the Phase 1 facilities, Brambledown pressed ahead with the bigger Phase 2 operation. Work on curbing the paths went ahead, and the site of the old depot was cleared and a large picnic area created, featuring a huge wooden apple seating enclosure. An impressive grand staircase was constructed on the north side, leading visitors up from the bandstand to the new grassed leisure area. The Friends of Barnes Park were given regular progress tours of the second phase work, and it quickly became apparent that the park was not being given a facelift, but a full body makeover. Phil Dorian, landscape architect, working hand in glove with Brambledown project engineer Keith Rattray, have created a unique blend of traditional and modern attractions of which Wearsiders can be proud. The lake, which had become unsightly and semi-stagnant, was drained and the bottom repaired. The island was tidied up and given a smart new boundary wall. The most noticeable feature, however, is the new elegant serpentine bridge, which crosses the lake midway and gives the whole area an attractive new focus. The park's much-loved Civil War cannon, the background to many thousands of family pictures, was lifted from its 100-year-old mount to be sent off for a badly needed refurbishment. A new lower mount was built, and the iconic gun was treated with a protective resin and repainted. Now it again stands sentinel, overlooking the bandstand and the eastern end of the park. Replicas of the original 3 bridges crossing the stream in the bandstand area were completed by late summer, and a novelty twisty bridge was constructed over the stream near Ettrick Grove. Once again, nature took a hand in the proceedings by halting work for weeks on end during the dreadful winter of 2010-2011. It was not until well into 2011 that catch-up work was possible. The bandstand was restored to its former splendour and the amphitheatre fabric repaired. The main roads were the last to be reinstated, with smart pin curbs and a super smooth tarmac. A massive thinning out of trees and bushes has created new, attractive sightlines across the park, giving much more openness and light. Public interest was at its height as the opening of May the 21st, 2011 drew near. Young and old alike had been buzzing with anticipation about getting back their beloved park. They were not to be disappointed. The great day came and everyone was astonished to see huge crowds gathering for the noonday opening. A cavalry charge of children made straight for the adventure playground as parents and adults began their survey of the new attractions. Opening speeches were made and the refurbished bandstand was christened.
I think it's great. I mean, I've been coming to Barnes Park since I was 11 years old, and it did die off quite a bit. When it's really, as is the most, to be honest, it's the most people I've ever seen in Barnes Park in my life.
The play areas for the kids are very good as well.
Just to actually see the park finished after 5 years of work, when we first started the bid back in 2006 to the Heritage Lottery Fund, working with the Friends group, and finally seeing the park open on the 21st of May this year, 2011. Hundreds of children and families enjoying the park really made this long project worthwhile.
Barnes Park was a park that we all enjoyed working in, and I think all my lads would say the same thing. They enjoyed their work here. The thing that particularly liked working on was the features around the lake and the bridge, which was something completely different to any of the other parks we'd worked on.
Barnes Park is one of those places that I think is very special. Personally, I have an affinity with the park because it was where I walked through to go to Beat School when I was a schoolboy. It was a fabulous project that was really well put together with lots of different elements, and the training and the cafe just sort of made it absolutely wonderful.
For me, it's, I mean, you can design things, put it on paper, but actually seeing it there on the ground, it's a fantastic achievement really, so I'm really pleased. Yeah.
If we were to attribute human characteristics to the park, we would say it had a smile on its face, and, after so long in the doldrums, it was beaming with satisfaction at fulfilling its purpose in life, that of giving enormous pleasure to the citizens of Sunderland. Today, the park is again enjoying massive popularity. Wearsiders have taken it to their hearts, and it has added much needed lustre to the city. It is a credit to all who have made it possible.